Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of Ready Up. My name is Spicer.
And I'm Leo.
And we just came back from
Godzilla.
King of the Monsters. And we like to break down our movies and TV shows into a non-spoiler detail review. Direction, writing, acting, music, sound, and visual effects.
Yes.
So, what do you think about the direction in Godzilla King of Monsters?
I thought it was. I thought the direction was adequate. I thought it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on the CG part and the build-ups and stuff. The certain high moments were delivered well. I think through directing, really beautiful shots, cinematography, pacing was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Overall.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, on that front, I would say above average.
I thought it was adequate. I mean, it's a big monster movie that you have to force in the human element into, you know. But I think it was done pretty well. Some of the jokes didn't fall the way they should have. They kind of fell flat. But in terms of Godzilla movies, yeah, good job on this one. Mm-hmm. So the writing, I thought the writing was pretty good, especially for the father. I thought he had the best arc because they were talking about, well, we'll talk about it in spoilers. But yeah, the father had the best arc for me. But yeah, the writing was pretty good. Everybody had their reason. It got a little like, okay, we got to tell you all the information now. You know, that matters for everything. And that was done a little boring a few times. But other than that, I thought it was pretty good for a big monster movie. What about you?
Yeah, I thought they were trying a little bit too hard.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they were maybe taking themselves too seriously, but it almost ended up not feeling very serious at some moments because it felt that way. Just a lot of it. A lot of it felt like they were trying to just jam we have to have a story and we'll just kind of, and things just kind of get a little bit out there, and it's not super surprising or anything. But again, all that said, I didn't really come here for the writing or for the story, really, you know. And they were able to set up that expectation, I felt, in the trailers. But here they were still felt like they were trying to do the plot while we were, I don't know, it didn't super land for me, but it worked in that it didn't really detract too much from the movie itself. It's like, it is what it is. So, yeah, I wasn't impressed, but I wasn't disappointed either. Like, I felt like there was definitely, for all the main characters, for example, better arcs here significantly than the arcs that the characters had on the first Godzilla movie. Right. You know, so, yeah, definitely I would say also above average for what we expect for this kind of movie.
Yeah. So what do you think about the acting?
Acting was pretty good overall. It felt a little kind of corny at a lot of times. A lot of like the tropey lines that you kind of expect, which goes hand in hand with writing. But then every now and then they had a little bit of self-awareness because like, this is so crazy. And like I said, not all the jokes landed, but those they did, I really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I think what was her name? The girl from Stranger Things. I think she had the tone of the film the most wrong. I thought she was going way too serious, and everybody else had a little hinge of this. This is obviously ridiculous, you know. But she was like, you know, just so in it. And I think like, I think if she was in another movie, she would have done really well.
You think she was too believable for this?
In here, she kind of stood out tonally. You know, nothing wrong with her acting. She did a great job acting, but tonally it was separate from everybody else, and that was a little distracting. Okay. But the sound, I thought the sound was really good. When they wanted to scare you with a big monster, they did it. I thought all the sounds, all the destruction, all the, you know, all that stuff was really good. What we would definitely expect. Godzilla sounded great. And all the energy and stuff sounded really cool. What do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. The sound, along with the music and the visual effects, really, really strong points of the movie came together in those high CG, the battle moments, and just the big destruction and stuff. Yeah, the sound, I would definitely say it's on par with what we expected, which for me, the expectation was really high on that regard, because to be able to deliver that Titanic feel, and I think they did a great job with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Titanic in every sense of the word for this movie. The music was kind of nothing super noticeable, so it did its job for me. There was nothing that really like drove home an emotion or a feeling. It was just always lingering around. What do you think?
Yeah, for me, I would say I definitely noticed the music in a positive way. There were certain moments in the movie that we'll talk about in the spoiler discussion that, like, I knew what they were doing, and I felt like they were trying to force a certain emotion at me, but at the same time, it worked. You know what I mean? Because I saw that they're trying to force it, but also because of their delivery was so polished, it worked for me. So I definitely recognize this music as one of the pluses of the movie, especially for those very specific, uplifting or horrifying moments. I think it worked really well with the visual effects and with the sound effects.
Right. Yeah. And leading up to visual effects, I think they did a great job. There was some scenes where it looked really CG. There was just one scene I was like, that's just obvious, so obvious it's computer graphics. It's not. There was some. There's just a wall there. Like, I knew like none of this was practical. Like none. Like everybody's like, oh, looking at nothing, and.
How would you even do something like that in practical?
I mean, have some type of. I don't know, like at least make it and, enhance it with visual effects. I mean, they got it done in the past. I mean, now we have computer effects. Like in some movies, especially like this, you need a little practicality. It works really well. The actors can, come off of that, but it just looks like they're all like looking at green screen. Ah! It's just always a whole thing. Everything looked like a green screen, and I don't know. Obviously, the effects for the monsters were great, top of the line, but it just looked really digital. Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with you to some degree. I definitely agree with everything that you said. I wasn't bothered by it too much. It did bother me a little bit. Like it was definitely there. So it was there. It did detract from it a little bit because of all the really fantastic scenery and everything that's going on. But I thought it was also very beautiful and very beautifully done as a composition, as a color choice, and like just as. It feels like almost physically, like throughout the movie, we enter more and more into a fantasy realm, of what becomes of the planet, and we see that in trailers. So, like I said, there were those decisions that they made, like you mentioned, to not do a lot of practical. I felt like a lot of the locations, if any, they weren't even in because of all the. I don't know how they shot, if they really shot everything on a green screen, but I definitely agree that it sort of felt like that. But beyond that point. Yeah, the creature effects absolutely top tier, and this year we're getting some amazing digital giant reptiles.
Right? Yeah.
So, between Game of Thrones and this, I'm in happy town. I love me my dragons and Godzillas and whatnot. So, wyverns and Game of Thrones, and it's just enjoyable. I definitely recognize what you said, and it doesn't bother me as much. Because I knew this was going to be a CG heavy movie. It could have been better, sure, but was it enjoyable? Absolutely.
Yeah. So ready up or ready down on this?
Overall, I expected I would enjoy this movie more than I did. So I felt a little bit disappointed, but definitely not enough for a ready down. Overall, I think it was basically more or less the experience that you would expect from an okay Godzilla movie. And so overall, if you're a fan of Godzilla or the genre, definitely Ready Up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have to agree. If you love big monster movies, if you like Godzilla, there's a couple next to us. She knew every Godzilla movie. She's like, oh, I saw that one. I saw that one. Oh, yeah, that era. Oh, yeah, that era. And she was just like going on. I was like, wow, you are a nerd. Big nerd about Godzilla. And gigantic. But for me, I'm not a big Godzilla fan. Big monster movies never really have delivered for me. And so for me, Ready Down. But if you enjoy that type of stuff, Ready Up all the way. This is definitely the best of these big monster movies. This is definitely better than King Kong for me. And it's the same universe, right? So so they're definitely taking it a step further, a step up. And they did a great job with the color, with the visual effects, the way that they use the color. Because like all the, we'll get into it in spoilers. But yeah, so Ready Down for me as a personally, but Ready Up for all you Godzilla fans. Definitely 100%. So we're going to get into our spoiler discussion, get a little bit more into detail about all this. But if you haven't seen the movie, go see it. When you do, come back for our spoiler discussion and make sure you like and subscribe before you do. We'll see you next time. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the spoiler discussion for Godzilla King of Monsters. So, a few things that stood out for me. One, the father's arc. I really liked him. In the beginning, they start off the movie with him, the mother, and the daughter, and they lose their son in a Godzilla attack.
In previous movie.
Yeah, in a previous movie. And so so his arc is that whenever that happened, him and his wife split and he ran away, right? That's his whole arc. And so in the beginning, he ran away. In the middle of the movie, he's running for his daughter, right? And then they wake Godzilla back up and he's telling everybody, no, don't run, stand still. And that's whenever he stopped running away and he stopped running. And then he was rewarded with Godzilla letting him live. And now he has everything he has, or everything he needs to save his, to reunite with his daughter and mother. I thought that was a wonderful, wonderful arc. And they hit it. He actually won me over from the beginning of the film. I was like, oh, this guy. I was like, I don't know. He's not my favorite actor at all. But in terms of, he gave me that classic hero feel from the movies in the beginning. He had the look. He kind of acted in that way. But he won me over with his character arc. I really enjoyed that. But other than that, like what's a three-headed monster? What's that one called?
King Ghidorah.
King Ghidorah looks so fucking fake and digital, man. The whole time looks so cheesy to me. It just looked really, especially when it was like regenerating its head. I was like, oh, it looks real bad. But and then they lost me a couple times on just the believability of what they're doing, what they're able to achieve, and their decisions as characters really threw me off of this movie. And I was like,
really,
I was falling asleep in the second act big time. Yeah. What about you? How would you sum up this movie for yourself?
So again, I knew from the start I'm not really coming in for the story. I knew that this all kind of feel a little almost like a B movie story, but. And it sort of did, but in those constraints, I definitely agree with you. The father had a great arc. You know, the mother's arc was a little contrived, but okay. Just everybody, like a lot of the main characters had their arcs, and it was interesting and definitely compelling. But it's really, I came in thinking, okay, the people, great, interesting story. It's a great way. They did a great job of tying everything together. But for me, it's just that it's tying everything together, giving stuff reason to be where they are. You know, but really, I came for the big monster fights like that. I'm all about that. You know, I really enjoy that. And I felt like the movie was okay on that. I felt it was definitely better than the other ones, like you mentioned. Definitely probably the best big monster movie. It's just that I don't know if it's the hype that I created for myself. I just wanted more. You know, I did hear that there were going to be a lot of the kaijus in the movie, and I imagined, okay, and the movie's name is King of Monsters, and with the ending, I guess that's what they do. But I imagine something else. I imagine much more fights, just higher intensity fights. And that's, I think, something that really lacked for me, where like the buildup was really good, but the fights themselves felt, I don't know, like there wasn't really those moments from the first movie where Godzilla kills the flying one with its tail. Is like anticipation, then and just felt really brutal. And you know, with the female one that you know, did the atomic breath into the head and stuff.
Oh,
right?
yeah, right.
You know, both of those were like really cool, really powerful moments. And like I said, this movie definitely had more and gave us more. I wanted more on top of that. I wanted to feel a little bit better. So again, it is probably the best big monster movie ever, which bums me out because I feel like this movie specifically could have been better. You know what I mean? So it's not like really good, objectively good as a movie, but for a big monster movie, it's definitely top of the list.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it could have been better.
Yeah. The one of the decisions I just did not understand was why they destroyed Godzilla's house. They could just go in there and fucking blow it up with a nuke.
It was like an ancient culture,
right? Yeah, so much value in that spot. Yeah. It's Godzilla's place of regeneration. You just blew it up.
Yeah. It's like, what is he going to do now?
Why isn't he killing all you for destroying his home?
That was weird.
That didn't make any sense. I feel... obviously, they spent the most time on the father's arc. The mother was second, and the daughter's was pretty much non-existent. I mean, all she did was just break rules the entire time. You know, she followed her mother to a certain point. Whenever she let loose at the volcano one, whichever one that one is, and after that, she just started breaking rules.
Oh yeah,
Mexico.
Rodan.
Yeah, Rodan. And she just started breaking rules over and over and over again, and so that was it. That was what she was there for. And I don't know, the mother, whenever she died, I thought that was equal. Like she redeemed herself.
Yeah, that was pretty much that was a given. That's the way it would go. Probably.
I mean, it was. You could see it. You know, like soon as the Mexico incident happened, you know, she started changing her way, and then you have one of the Lannisters.
Tywin Lannister.
Yeah, Tywin
what's
Lannister.
his name? I know his name, or just it's slipping from my mind at the moment.
Daniels or something? No. Anyway, but you know he's
famous. He's a very famous, very amazing actor.
Yeah. He's the archetype that's always trying to pull her back to, you know, the old world, so she doesn't progress, right? So she doesn't learn her lesson and have that character arc. And he was serviceable. I liked him. He was he did what he could with the basic ass dialogue. He was obviously there just for, oh, I get to be a villain. Oh, of course. Yes, I'll do that.
Really, he was there for the bait and switch, because he's obviously, like, they're building him up as the villain. So there's the twist when they find out that the mom is a shapeshifter, basically, that she betrayed them. Then it's not. It's so the people would think they know, and then that's supposed to be a thing. But I mean, I guess.
I mean, I kind of dug the ex-wife's motivation a little bit in terms of, you know, this is the only way that we can save. You know, it's kind of like a Thanos.
Yeah,
you know,
they were doing a lot of some of that.
But just the way it was written, I think it could have been a little punchier. I think it could have been a little bit more heftier. I mean, overall, like in Act 2, I was like, man, where the hell are these monsters, dude? Why am I dealing with all these people? I don't want to see these people. Give me. I came here to see Godzilla. I understand that these people are the human emotion connection, and you know, like, so you know, and they have to help Godzilla or destroy Godzilla, and you know that's your emotional attachment, right? But man, they did it way too much. Dude, this movie could have been cut like 30 extra minutes for me. and I think this would have been,
replace that with monster fights, which is what I wanted.
Either way, I think it would have been such a much better film if they either, again, like you said, stuff 30 more minutes of fighting, or just rip out 30 minutes, because it was way too long. It was like a 2-hour film.
2.5.
Yeah, like, give me an hour and a half of Godzilla, dude. Well, just solid Godzilla, and I'll take that, and I'll say, yeah, it was worth my money. Yeah, this one was not.
That some of the Japanese ones are basically that. No, they all try to wrap a story. That's basically the formula, but the story never, like, it's supposed to matter, but that's not why people are there. Like, and it is a problem the first movie suffered from. Here, definitely not so much, because the first movie, they were like, a lot of times they were cutting away from fight scenes. In this movie, especially in the third act, there was no cutting away from fight scenes. They're
right, like, in your
front
face.
and center. Yeah, eventually, let's check up on the humans real quick. Okay, cool. But even when we're checking up on them, make sure you see the monsters fighting in the background. So I appreciated that. I enjoyed that. I wish it was punchier. I like that term. It just felt like the impact wasn't really there. The fights didn't really feel like there's something. It didn't feel like that those impacts have a real effect. It was kind of like more fantasy, but like really, really out there, and like they lost the gravitas. At some point, Ghidorah like picks up Godzilla and takes it to lower orbit and then drops him. And
I was like, man, that's a comet,
he's catching fire. That's a comet. That's destroying. That's a big ass comet too.
That's going to destroy a lot of things. And then they just got,
and
they got their hair blown.
He wasn't even knocked up. He was just like, a little dazed by it afterwards. Right. I'm like, you dropped on your back. All those things on his back would have been broken. And no, it's just so they were going out there, and they knew they were going out there. So they were like, we're just committing, I guess. But then they kept trying to ground it with the family, and even their story was really like kind of out there, which I feel like, okay, you're accepting a little bit that it's that you recognize that it's out there, but then there's so much of the people stuff that wasn't really necessary if you acknowledge that, then just give us more monster stuff. Like, I was really hoping to get like a crazy, to this day, my favorite big monster battle of any movie is, I do remember the Peter Jackson King Kong. So remember when it was fighting three
T-Rexes?
V-Rexes. They're that's what they're called in that universe, V-Rexes, because they're an evolution of T-Rex.
Oh, okay.
I'm a nerd. But that Peter Jackson King Kong fighting those three V-Rexes, that to me was the best monster fight that I've ever seen. I even every few years I go back and rewatch it,
Oh, okay.
Because it's just so well done, and a lot of tension, and a lot of almost got the lead actress, I forget her name, and almost messing up King Kong and stuff. So I really would have liked to see something like that, like a Godzilla fighting multiple monsters at once against the odds and like systematically taking them down.
Right. Like Bruce Lee of Godzilla taking down a bunch of.
Well, that's what King Kong.
No, but I understand
doing,
what you're talking about.
And
like a really well choreographed like monster scene. They can just never get that right with these. Like it's almost there, but they just. Like, you could just do so many cool things with like a 3-headed dragon.
Yeah.
And just, like slithering and like wrapping around. Just
they
all
did
these
that
cool
like
things.
once.
Yeah. But one thing I really enjoyed about this movie is their use of color with, like the people are usually in some type of blue hue or color, to signify they're basically, that they're small, that they that because as opposed to red, which is super passionate and power and movement, blue's much more subdued, much more subservient, in its usage, and they were always bathed and there was always blue around them and everything like that. And whenever that color changed, that's whenever the monsters started coming. And I thought that was really, really, really cool, because even the King, was it
Ghidorah, the dragon?
King Ghidorah, whenever he was dormant, he was all in blue, right? And then whenever he broke out, it's all yellow. And
overall, it seemed like the blues were like the good colors of the good guy colors, because Mothra and Godzilla blue, and then Rodan and Ghidorah yellow and red or fire, like orange. So those tones, and wherever there's fire and destruction, that was the danger, red is danger, and then the blue was the safety. And whenever you see the blue light, you feel safe, you know.
Yeah, because I think Mothra was more of like a white color.
Yeah,
although there was hues of like yellow and blue.
Whenever it reflected on people, it was very
white.
very blue.
Yeah,
very white, but very very cool white. So say cool colors were the colors of good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, that thing, by the way, the scene I was talking about earlier. That really, like, I knew they were trying to force me to feel something, and I was like, ugh. But then it worked, and that was when Mothra, and you see this in the trailer, it's like spreading its wings. Just the music and the sounds and everything come together is very, very majestic and godlike. You know, like a lot of the appearances of Mothra in the movie, like especially early on, very, very godlike and very, I feel, respectful and true to the source material, where Mothra was being worshipped, I think. Or something like that as a god. So,
yeah, I liked all their screams and all their, roars and everything that they had for each of the creatures. I thought they did a really, especially Mothra. I loved, just the way it would echo, throughout the world. I thought that was awesome.
Really, really good job with this, with the sound of the monsters for sure. Yeah, I don't know where they lost me on the like the impact of hits, like just doing damage. Like, I don't know, something like just the brutality of it. Like, in the first Godzilla, there were a lot of the fights, even though there wasn't a lot of it, but just the hits seemed like, ow, like, brutal,
Yeah.
And not so much here, but what I really appreciated is the really uplifting moments, like the scene I just described with Mothra, but also, and you missed out that scene, but it's in the trailer, where Godzilla is like, in the last second, before Ghidorah kills the girl in the theater, in the stadium, the Godzilla shows up, and there's this scene where like this help has arrived, reinforcements have arrived, because it's got like you do a cut and you see immediately Godzilla, and for some reason it's like this perfect moment where all the jets who are flying way faster and the helicopters that are going slower, they're all like right next to Godzilla, like a big shot, like, hey guys, I'm here. Right. All it needed is the American flag in the background.
Oh, that would have been sweet.
That would have been amazing. And it was just such a like, hey, the good guys are here, the cavalry has arrived, and it was a really uplifting scene. Like it worked for me. It was like really corny, but it really worked for me,
Yeah,
I'm just like, I'm in it for this. I'm here for this.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that like, you should never be afraid to use that type of stuff, because it works. It works every time. So just do it, like whenever I see these movies, it makes me feel better of like the choices. They are a little bit smarter than average, whenever we're creating worlds or whatever. And it's and I just love it's just more reinforcement for like our own creation. It's like, it's cheesy, I know it's cheesy, I know it's corny, but it works.
If it's gratifying, do it. That's it. Like, you had to build up. You gave us a reason. Okay, we're turning off our disbelief. Just please give me more of this. Like that's what I was here for. I was here for the brutal monster fights, and I wanted more. But the stuff that they did, and especially the anticipation moments, the high moments with the visuals, it's just a lot of it was very, very cool.
Anything else you want to say before we end it?
Let's see. There was one other thing, but I forget what it was. So probably not.
Okay. All right then. Well, this has been another wonderfully exciting episode of Ready Up. My name is Spicer.
And I'm Leo.
And we'll see you next time. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Or Godzilla will destroy your city.
Very true.